Welcome to virtual story time for children who are deafblind. Yes, with success. I'm Donna Carpenter with the Kentucky Deafblind Project. I'm co-presenting with two of my most favorite people, Dana Kahn from the Tennessee Deafblind Project and Tony Hollingsworth from the Mississippi Hearing and Vision Project. This is part of the 2021 OSIP Leadership and Project Directors Conference, and we're so thankful that we were included. And we're going to jump right in because we don't have a lot of time. So virtual story time, what and why is that? So that word literacy can mean so many different things to different people. And oftentimes we think of literacy as what? Books. So how do we bring books and stories to life for our children? How can we enjoy literacy with our children when they have sensory loss? These are questions that are often asked by parents who have deafblind children. Guess what? COVID pulled us all together to help us create a virtual story time. So who did this? 9 to 10 of the Southeast Deafblind projects. So each state has their own deafblind project. So we all came together to cost share, to collaborate, to deliver materials to families and work with Gwen McCormick from Positive Eye, who led our wonderful story time events. When did we do this? We did it in fall of 2020 and spring of 2021 for about an hour a week over about a 7-week time. So what were some of our Storytime goals? They were to expand literacy. How do we bring books and stories to life for our children? How to build confidence and support in the home, creating that fun reading time with their child in a multisensory way, increase their child's literacy and language skills while having fun, meet other families, build a home library with accessible books for their children, and have fun with the whole family, which might include the parents, the grandparents, siblings, friends, all are included in story time. So I'm going to share a Storytime clip right now. Hi, everyone. Come on in. Come on in. Find a seat. It's story time.
Boys and girls, mums and dads, welcome to the greatest Storytime show in America. What Penny do? And a go and a boom, 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 boom. Hello, little Marvin. Hi, Gwen. How are you today? All the boys and girls, little Marvin, they're all looking at us and waving and smiling. Hello, boys and girls. Hello. What's gonna do? No, it's your friend, Big Marvin. 1 and a 2 and a 3. Oh, welcome to the wonderful world of Marvin. Ribbit, let's ribbit, ribbit, let's ribbit, ribbit, let's rave. Do you want to rave, rave, rave? Do you want to rave, rave, rave? Do you want to rave? Wee! Oh, what Penny do?
Oh, I love watching that clip. Hi, everyone. So next we're going to meet Veronica and her daughter Delilah and Morgan and her son James. So there's 2 pictures on this page. The first picture is Veronica sitting on a couch and she's holding her daughter Delilah on her lap. They're both wearing black shirts with white lettering, and Delilah says, "I'm the birthday princess," and Veronica says, I'm the mom of the birthday princess. The other picture is Morgan, who has long dark hair and she's wearing a blue and white sundress, and she's with her son, James. He's sitting in a high chair with his party hat on, and you can see that there's a party going on because there's balloons and food behind them. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our interview, and I'm going to call to my friends Tony and Dana. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tony Hollingsworth with Mississippi Hearing Vision Project at the University of Southern Mississippi. I'd like to introduce you to Veronica Mickle today. And Veronica, would you just tell us a little bit about your family, please?
Yes, my name is Veronica Michael. I have a little girl that's 8 years old, and she's deaf blind and with other multiple disabilities. Her dad name is Quincy, and she was born at 24 weeks, and that's about wrap us up.
I know that there's lots of things that you all like to do in the home. Do you want to talk about that just a little bit?
Yes, in the home, like she loved to listen to music, so we do a lot of singing and role playing and playing around with songs. We also like to watch like fun movies that we can act out or do something like that. She enjoys that, and we also do story time with Gwen, which she loves. Every time she hears Gwen's voice, she just light up. She knows it's her. She don't even have to start the story. When she hears the sound of her voice, she starts smiling. So she knows it's story time.
That's great. Thank you, Veronica. Dana, I'm going to turn to you.
Thanks, Tony. I'm Dana Kahn, and I'm the project coordinator of the Tennessee Deafblind Project at the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. And I have the pleasure of having Morgan Robertson here with us today, one of our families from Tennessee that has been participating in Storytime with Gwen and her son, James. So Morgan, will you tell us a little bit about your family and about James and the things that you guys have been doing?
Yes. Hi, my name is Morgan, and I live in Hendersonville, Tennessee with my husband. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary, and our son just turned 4. He is unofficially undiagnosed. Still, we are doing some genetic testing, but we do know that he has CBI from a lack of oxygen and a traumatic birth injury. Among other disabilities, such as cerebral palsy, some respiratory disorders, and so on.
Awesome. And so we'll ask a little bit more later on about like how you guys are using Storytime and the things that have come out from that. And just a little bit about your background. I know that because you also, you're a parent, but also have some education background also, correct?
Yes, yes. I went to the University of Tennessee and majored in psychology and got a minor in elementary education. And then I have my reading specialist degree.
Awesome. Yes, you can. We're all at home, definitely. Still have families walking by as we're participating, which
that's James's dad.
Great. Okay, Terry, we'll let you get started.
All right. So I want to ask you to tell us just a little bit about what each of you knew about your child's literacy skills before all the story time started. So Morgan, could I ask you to go first?
Mm-hmm. We were basically starting from scratch with James because he is so young. We knew that he wasn't responding well to what you typically think of literacy, such as books, with his vision issues and the 2D images. So we were working really hard on verbalizing stories, trying to act things out with objects, or even puppet shows, anything that we could do like that. The more we have worked on literacy with him and skills, and the more confident I got specifically through Storytime, we are starting to interact more with actual books and learning how to turn the pages and touch, if we're reading about a red bird, we touch the red bird. And then I try to back that up with some physical tactile objects as well.
So using some of those non-traditional forms of literacy, it sounds like a lot of what you're doing also.
Yes, to start with, because books were just not appropriate for him. We weren't getting anywhere.
Okay. Veronica, would you like to share about Delilah and what you knew about her literacy?
Yeah. Before we started Storytime, we knew we had a little knowledge about literacy because we went to the school at USM for early development children. And so they had started working with her some with using like a pod book and 2 switches to navigate on the computer through stories. And so we had that. And some, she talks some and use some words before story time. Like she may tell us eat, or she may call mom and dad. But for this navigating through the stories, she did not. She would not follow along with the stories. She would not pay attention when you read a story to her or ask her any questions she may have concepted from the story. She did not.
Okay. Very good.
So Morgan, what was your initial response to story time? So the first time, we had sent out our emails inviting families to come participate in this great story time with Gwen. And when you first saw it and James experienced it, what were kind of your first thoughts of the story time?
I was not sure what to expect. We were very excited to do this. He was delayed starting preschool because of COVID, and I was just desperate to get some sort of structured literacy component into his day. And with him being so young, I think he might have been the youngest in our initial Storytime group. I was not sure if he could sit still that long or pay attention for that long. Also, just with all the noises and things, if that would be sensory overwhelming to him, I just did not know what to expect. I was shocked that he could sit there for an entire hour and be actively engaged and participating. We are at a point where he cries when it's over. We have recorded some so we can play them for him when we're not in the middle of a storytime class with Miss Gwen, just because he loves it so much. But even with him being so young, I'm not sure how much of like the character development he understands yet, or something like that. And some of the crafts we have to do for him, and we just use those as manipulatives while she's reading the story. But I was shocked that he was able to participate the way that he did.
Oh, and I love that he's communicating by letting you know when he's said that it's over. That's using those tactile cues is fabulous. Veronica, what about your family? What did you guys think the first time you walked into Storytime and watched it?
Yes, very similar to Morgan. We was very excited about it, just didn't know what to expect. And so once we first started the story the first time, and I was like, oh, she wasn't paying attention, and I didn't think that she was concepting or understanding like really what was going on. But I was the one that was wrong. I mean, more than I thought, and she was really enjoying it. And as the time went, I just saw how she had growth in story time. And so for us, this is the first time I was concerned about, would she be able to follow along with the story? Would she concept what was actually going on in the story? And just know what is happening. And so that was one of my biggest concerns and initial thoughts.
Even just the time Miss Gwen takes to begin each session and calling out the children's names, that was something big for James that I saw. I didn't know that he had specifically recognized his name before, and watching him have the anticipation of her calling out each kid's name, and then it got to where we could tell that he was definitely recognizing and getting excited when it was his turn.
Great, what a great observation.
Yes, that was a similar experience with us also. Like, she loves to hear her name called. Like, when we say Delilah, she just go over the top and just grin. And she know, like, oh, this is about me.
Yeah.
It's a very wonderful experience.
Oh, I love that.
So both of you have sort of answered this next question that we have for you, but what did you see happen with your child after they started participating? So you've sort of answered that. Do you want to add anything about it?
Yes. Like with Delilah, as we went through story time, she became more aware of what was going on, the characters in the story. She'll do some role playing with Gwen. If Gwen say, here comes fancy, fabulous frog, she knew that meant ribbit, and princess. She would immediately start singing the song when she saw Princess. She's like, Princess Piggy. So she started learning the characters in the story and just got used to them. And when she would hear Gwen's voice, it didn't matter. Like if Gwen was just talking and introducing herself or anything that Gwen had going on, she would start grinning because she thinks that, hey, it's story time. And it's like she's looked forward to story time. So we have incorporated story time into some of our daily activity. So we take out time to watch Gwen, the recordings.
That's awesome.
So you both are using the recordings throughout the week. And it sounds like both James and your daughter Veronica are learning how to anticipate and sequence stories. That's really good.
He definitely knows. I appreciate that she keeps the structure of story time very similar. So even though the stories are changing or the characters are changing, he has anticipated the routine of like the roll call in the beginning and then this rainbow spin. He also loves Fabius Fabiano in the Rivet Ribbits. So just that repetitiveness, I think, also built his confidence in anticipating things and knowing what was coming. And he wasn't overwhelmed with anything because he knew what to expect.
And another thing I saw with Delilah, one of the biggest things was she started to be able to answer questions in story time. Like if we would ask her, who is the character that played in the story? Then she may be able to say like Princess Piggy, or she may say Marvin. And when she gets her Marvin doll, when it's time for story, she realized like she looked forward to seeing him on the screen, and she would look at her doll and look at the screen, realize that she has the same thing.
That's great.
That was, I think, a big, exciting thing for her.
That is great. Veronica, how does Storytime make a difference to you as a parent as far as your confidence or being more informed about literacy and your child's likes or dislikes? How did that help?
Well, like for me, for instance, with Storytime, it kind of gave me an idea of adapting other stories. So like if we were to take a book and it was not, I say, as energetic or as fun as Gwen's stories are, then I would add the extra repetitiveness in it or the excitement in it, or, you know, whatever I knew that Gwen done that caught her attention. And so as far as my confidence level, it made it where I understood how to present a story to her. And so now I'm confident in presenting any story to her and knowing that she will be able to take something from it.
That's great. How about you, Morgan?
I agree. I feel like initially, like I had mentioned with the books, they just weren't meeting him where he was at the time. And even though I have a reading specialist background, it is with elementary level students. So to try to just know where to start felt very overwhelming to me. And so getting to see someone and their ideas started getting my wheels spinning and how I could adapt it to other stories, different activities we can do at home. And even he has, thankfully, a vision specialist at the preschool he'll be going to in the fall. And so I've already shared some of this with her, just so that she doesn't have to start from scratch. And we know what he responds to initially from the Miss Gwen sessions. So I think just having a launching pad of where to start with him and that confidence, when you see how energetic Miss Gwen is and how open she is, I think I was nervous to do some of that with him, honestly, at first, just because he's nonverbal and we don't know sensory wise what is overwhelming to him. And so I think I was way too timid. And then when I saw how much he enjoyed her sessions, it made me feel like, okay, I can do a lot more with him than I thought I could.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And that's one of the things that I saw too with Delilah, like the excitement and everything. And so now she sees books and she'll pick out a book and she may say, you know, she'll pick out this book and she started to remember titles. Like, you know, she may not be able to specifically say everything in.
Oops, Veronica, you just
Maybe something like that.
Go back and just say that again about the titles, please.
Oh, I said she may not know word from word for the titles, but she started paying more attention to recognizing books. And I know like this is Pete the Cat book, or this is about the Red Barn. And she would pick which book she wants. And prior to Storytime, we didn't have that. So it built my confidence. And it gave me the acknowledgement and the information and that, you know, she can actually learn book stuff. She can learn things in the book. And she can enjoy story just like the regular Ed or Jeanette Ed could. And she would go take her finger now and go through the stories like she's reading it. And it's just so enjoyable. I have seen a great improvement.
Oh, all of that's so cool. It's exciting to hear all this, truly. And Veronica, I don't know if you highlighted this before, but you are actually working in the classroom with Delilah. So
Yes.
how did you take story time into that environment? Would you talk about that, please?
Yes. Talked with Delilah teacher, and she was excited about me doing story time with them, with the kids in the class. So we, with the help of Miss Tony, thank you, we took the story that I written through Gwen's literacy and used it in the classroom. And so we got a whiteboard and we presented it to the class.
That's great. That's great.
And Morgan, I know you talked a little bit about taking some of the things that you've learned through Storytime and incorporating it into your home. Can you just tell me some of the things that you all have done to incorporate it into his routine or in the home during the day?
Yes, James has a very busy schedule every day of must-dos that he has to do for doctors and therapies and different things. And one of the things we have been working on is getting him upright in his wheelchair for at least 30 minutes a day. And sometimes he does not enjoy that. And so that is a perfect time to do story time with him because it gets his mind off of the positioning and we get to interact with him and be busy. But I feel like after just getting to speak with Miss Gwen over multiple sessions, I have realized how much to incorporate literacy, even just in the kitchen when we're making dinner and letting him touch the lasagna noodles and bang the spoons on the pot. And we will make up a story about that. I have also really pulled from the tactile experiences. So any books, I was an elementary school teacher, so we have tons of books. And trying to find any sort of manipulatives. You know, if there's a bird in the story, we find a feather and we listen to bird sounds and we go outside and look at the birds. And just really trying to make as many connections and build that prior knowledge for him. Because without that, I'm not sure how much any stories were carrying any meaning with him.
That's great. You guys have, you know, we appreciate both of you so much for sharing your stories and letting us kind of come in and see your homes with your children and sharing story time. Are there any other thoughts that you all may have or things that we haven't talked about that you guys felt like you have gained from story time? I know one of the things you did was to do your own story. Was that right? In the one group that you all were in, do either one of you want to talk a little bit about what that experience was like when you had writing your own story?
I was nervous at first because I hadn't had a homework assignment in a while. And I think for me, again, James's age plays a big factor into the choices that I'm making for him. So for me, I tried to keep it very simple, colorful, not visually overwhelming. And we had all of those things at home. So it ended up, once I got started, it was much easier than I thought to just put a story together. And then I realized it's not a huge undertaking and it's something that can be done and done frequently.
Well, you're both authors now.
Yeah.
Nervous about the story and everything, but like once I started writing it out, it started feeling like, wow, I can do this. And I told Gwen one time when I was talking to her, I was like, I don't see how you do it. And then she was like, oh, you got it. Once I put out the days of the week, I was like, oh, I want the kids to learn about the days of the week. I want them to memorize something that happened during the days of the week. And so it actually became a fun time for me to write the story. And going back to like presenting in the class, it was really exciting to the kids. Like we made little shaker dolls. And so my story is like getting ready for Mrs. Sue fancy party. And so with that, we had a lady called Miss Shaker. And so I cooperated something like Gwen did with noise. And so we would pick up the dolls. And when I get ready to say Miss Shaker, they would shake the doll and I would like just pause. And it'll be their part to participate in the story. So I really got the kids really involved in class. And once everything was over with, we went to like a poster board and did an activity with them where they put all the characters on the poster board and picked out like the days of the week, And then they also did the what happened on the days of the week. And so that was really exciting to the kids, and they were so like interested in it. And I asked them like at the end, well, did they enjoy the activity? Was it fun? And everybody was like, yes, they love their shaker dolls. Can we take them home? We want to show our parents what we done. And it was really exciting.
That sounds like a lot of fun. It seems like there was, besides just literacy, there was a lot of learning and social interaction with all the kids in the classroom.
Yes, it really was. It really was. They were so excited about it. And when the initial thought was, one of the little girls, she understands a whole lot in the class. And so when I said the author of the story is Mrs. Michael and the illustrator of the story is Mrs. Michael, and her mouth just flew open like, wow, you did that. So it was really exciting, and they were so happy to have it read in class to them. And I just took from Miss Gwen, I got up and I acted them out and I moved my characters around and just played with it and had fun. And it was so enjoyable to them.
That sounds great. They're going to be looking for another new story soon, I bet.
They are. So I said probably the month of July, I may try to work on something.
Oh, I see. There you go.
Because one of the kids say, I was talking to Miss Sanders about writing more, and one of the kids say, part two.
Oh, that's great.
That's great. And
That's
that's
great.
how the library grows, right? That you can share amongst each other. You could share each other's stories together.
Sounds like some great opportunities as James goes into preschool for you to be able to bring that into the classroom. That's great.
His teachers are going to be so grateful for you, Morgan, for you knowing all this. You know,
Hopefully. I'm excited to bring a lot of this in. I would love it if the vision specialist could meet Miss Gwen at some point, and
that's
I think that's possible. Yeah, I think it's just really great. I know this is a story time and it's very literacy based, but I think it really goes way beyond that, with hitting so many other skills and being super interactive, no matter what the age is. Anybody can participate, which we found out.
Right.
That's one of the things I found in class. Like, even though each student is on different levels, they all enjoyed it, and they really enjoy making because we let them make their own shaker dolls. They got to, do the material, glue it on, and do the bell that we put on it to make the noise for them. And so that was really exciting for them. And I mean, they all have different challenges. So I totally agree with what Ms. Morgan said.
Yeah. Well, I think this has been a lovely time this afternoon with you and talking about this. And it certainly is inspiring me to keep working on story time too, and maybe even think about crafting my own, right? Being of use too.
And I think having the interpreters has been probably really the fact that we are able to have ASL interpreters is phenomenal, and watching them is just as fascinating too sometimes, being able to keep up.
Yes. I think it's going to be great for other families to learn more about, and we're excited that you have found so much worth in the activity and have been willing to share that with all of us.
Yeah, I think it's been a learning process for us all. And I'm excited about the next story time.
I'm ready. Like, activity for story time is a big thing in our house. So we're always excited to see what we're going to make next. Yeah. And I actually have took some of the characters in the class and like, oh, well, we can make a frog in class. And the kids like, let's do it. They're so excited. They don't even have to hear the story. They just hear something about an animal. And so that's something that also follow me into the class. Like, if they have like a giraffe or anything in a story, because of Gwen's story time, now I know how to craft a little more stuff. And so we can make a giraffe. We can make a giraffe,
That's awesome.
And just figure out how to make something out of every story and do an activity with them. And they really enjoy the activity part.
That's
great. And it sounds like you expand on that then, and you can, talk about giraffes and, what do giraffes look like? And there's so much you can do with it.
It is. It's a lot. Talk about colors and what and they go beyond. They'll pick out their own color. And we're like, do they actually be that color? No. And so we talk about, well, is this real or not? You know, is this a real color or not a real color?
Right.
Jarrell's pink, you know.
I love that. Well, thank y'all. We'll let Donna, if you want to jump back on. And
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed chatting with our two moms, Veronica and Morgan. We don't have much time left in this, but I'm going to go ahead and read some quotes that some other families had shared with us about story time. So the first quote is, I'm going to share with my daughter's school team. She can attend to online lessons if they are structured to meet her learning strengths and needs. Thank you. She is truly engaging with them. The next one says, my child engages in such a new, different way. Her attention focus is improving and she's more vocal. The third quote that we have from a family member says, Storytime has helped her to start paying more attention to stories being read in class. She shows so much more interest in stories now that she did before we started Storytime with you. Our next quote says, I think my son has become much more responsive in video calls since being introduced to your program. Your high energy towards him and that named shout outs turn the video chats on the tablet from something to stare and listen into being interactive and personal. I think he responds better in all video, telehealth, after watching and listening to your story times. Great timing getting this improvement before COVID-19 increased our use of telehealth technology. And the very last quote we have from a family is, my child is taking part in stories in school with greater concentration and interest. She is now asking questions and engaged. The teacher said to mom, I don't understand the change. Mom replied, why, she is watching Miss Gwenny Gwen Storytime show, of course. So those are just a few of the responses that we received from families. And I wanted to share a few pictures. So on the top, we have a young man who uses Braille, and you can see that he has been sent, so the Deafblind Project sent him the story in Braille that he can read along with. Actually, he read ahead of, so he could get ready for story time. He's also holding one of the art projects, the craft projects that we did during story time. Down below on the lower left is our friend James. And you can see that James and his mom have set up a beautiful viewing area with a black background. They have the iPad set up, and then some of the crafts with the characters are around him. And James is attending to Gwen on the screen. And the last picture on the bottom right is a picture of Delilah. And she is up close with Gwen, watching Gwen as she shares Marvin's stories with her. So you can see how her mom, Veronica, set up that learning environment for her. So I want you all to please check in the folder because we've included some additional information. The stories that Veronica and Morgan have made, along with their story templates, are in there. There's also the literacy skills checklist that is used with families before and after story time. There's also information about Gwen McCormick and Positive I. And then we also have a resource page in there. And our final closing is, please contact us for more information. We love to talk story time, and today was crammed into a half hour. But you can contact any one of us, and we are happy to share any information we have about story time. So that's the end of our presentation, the 2021 OSEP Leadership and Project Directors Conference. We thank you for inviting us to be part of this.
And